am Google chatting with Neil Campbell from the Foundation for Excellence in Education. Thank you for joining me, Neil.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, the Foundation for Excellence in Education recently released a white paper on an emerging school choice reform called Course Access. So I want to start out by just asking you, Neil, what is Course Access?
Yeah, well, Course Access is a state-level program that provides students with expanded course offerings across learning environments. And what we mean by that is it could be online classes, it could be blended classes that are partially with the teacher, in person with the teacher and partially online, and then just fully face-to-face courses. And those classes are offered by a kind of portfolio of diverse accountable providers. So the state's role in this would be to set quality standards of making sure that providers are developing courses that are aligned to standards, that are assessing accurately that students are mastering the necessary material, and that they're supporting students along the way so that you have the highest likelihood of students succeeding. And those providers can really have a wide range of who they are. It can be the districts or charter schools in a state. It could be companies or nonprofits that have created virtual courses, the higher education institutions in a state. And then even in a couple of states, we've seen things like trade associations that are offering career and technical education courses that their sort of members, demand that the members have needs for new employees, and the trade associations can help train employees for those roles.
So how many states currently have some type of course access program?
So yeah, it's a new policy area in that there are the first one was Minnesota just in like 2006. There's about 10 or 11 states that have some type of course access like programs out there in places like Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, in the Midwest, Virginia, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, and Utah. So in a number of regions, they have these programs, and the consensus of what these programs look like is just starting to emerge. So there is really wide variation of how each state has established these programs and the rules that go along with them.
So what would you say then is the difference between just a full-time or part-time virtual school and course access?
Well, I mean, the biggest difference in a full-time virtual school is that the students, course access versus a full-time virtual program is that in students taking advantage of course access, they stay enrolled in the whatever school they're currently attending. So if they're in just their district's traditional high school or a magnet school or what have you, they stay there and then would just take one or two classes through the course access program. So maybe they'll work on an online class during the school day. Maybe it's something they do during the summer or at nights and on the weekends if they have sort of scheduling needs to work around. So that's a comparison of how it's different than a full-time virtual school where the student would not attend a brick and mortar school at all, compared to how it's different than a state supplemental virtual school. So there's a number of states that have these sorts of programs. And the biggest difference there is that a state virtual school, it's addressing parts of the same challenge in that it's difficult for a traditional high school to offer all of the classes that students may want. But the state virtual school has the state as the developer and deliverer of that course. And so you're really getting sort of one option and one pedagogical approach through the state virtual school. Whereas in course access, it's addressing that same problem of how to expand course offerings to students, but it's really opening up who those providers could be. So the state virtual school could be one of the providers, or it could be the districts in the state offering courses, beyond their own individual borders, or the higher education institutions or other organizations. So it's really a matter of the kind of single provider versus having this portfolio where the state their role becomes the quality assurance, so that they are ensuring that all these providers are offering high quality classes, and that they also then create this sort of centralized place for kids to learn about what courses are available and providers are available.
So of all the course access programs that you've looked at, which one would you say a state that doesn't have a course access program should model it after?
Well, I think so. We've actually developed some model legislation for states to consider as a starting point. We think it addresses a lot of these challenges of how to ensure quality, how to make sure that the opportunities are communicated to schools, to students, to parents effectively. And so I think that we definitely, as we were building that, took lessons from lots of the states that have these programs in place. So I don't think that from our view as analysts that we would say that there's one perfect example out there that, you could go copy this. So I think one of the great things, Louisiana is a state that has a really ambitious program. So they've gone the furthest in terms of offering a range of courses. So where students can take dual enrollment, career and technical, blended, fully in-person classes, fully online classes. So they have they're the ones with the widest range of course opportunities and options available to students. One of the challenges there is that there was a constitutional challenge to how the program was originally constructed and funded. And so right now, the way that funding works in Louisiana is that it's funding that is delivered for course access courses to each district in the state. And so the district then has, a big say in how that funding gets invested for students. They can invest more if they so choose, but it's really at the district's discretion. Comparing that to somewhere like Florida, where every student has the right to take courses, so they can take courses from the Florida Virtual School. Most districts have established their own virtual programs, and the state is now running a very high quality review process of additional providers that want to offer courses statewide. So from the students having the opportunity to drive what courses they take and are interested in taking, that's a point of contrast between Florida and Louisiana there.
So course access seems to offer students a lot of options in what types of classes they're taking. So that's definitely a benefit. But do you see other benefits to, say, teachers or school districts?
Well, I think it's really exciting to view it as a chance for school districts to offer courses beyond their own boundaries. The paper that we just released, one of the really neat profiles we did was of a very small rural district in Texas called Guthrie. And the school district there, along with their kind of neighboring rural communities, recognized that they were not able to afford the kind of foreign language teachers that they needed, so their students would be competitive applicants in the university system in the state. And so they kind of banded together the demand, their kind of combined demand for that, and began offering, it was staffed by a Guthrie teacher to offer, starting with Spanish classes, courses to students in that area. And they've now grown to the point where this district of 100 students it's the third least dense county in the country, that they're one of the biggest providers of these virtual courses in Texas's virtual schools network. So it provides this great opportunity for teachers in those districts to, expand their reach beyond. It provides opportunities for more flexible working environments, and that some of these teaching virtual courses, if there are parents with young kids who don't want to commit to full-time work as a teacher, is a great way that they could maybe dial back to part-time and lighter course loads for a period of time, and then fully engage back as full-time teachers at some point in the future. And so there are those opportunities there for districts that they can at the same time, create more kind of teacher professional pathways. They can create revenue for the district by offering their courses to others in their state. And they can really expand what's possible and available to their students.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for talking to me. Is there a place that people could go and find more information about course access? We've written a little on showmeinstitute.org, but where could people find your paper?
There is. So our paper is on our website. It's excelined.org, and that's EXCELINED.org, and then /course-access. So they can also just do a search bar on our website, excelined.org, and search for course access and find a number of the resources we've created about this.
Well, thank you, Neil, so much for joining me.
Thank you, Brittany. I enjoyed it. Thanks.